As a part of our exploration of stone in Scotland, we have visited the Long Barrow in Fingask Castle. This structure is a contemporary recreation of the Long Barrow using vernacular stonemason techniques from thousands of years ago. It uses a cobbled structure and was built without any support. You will hear Mr Davies talk more about it.
I first built a long barrow in Davies 10 years ago. It's all Cannings. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. This guy worked at Stonehenge through, I think, a conversation in a pub, decided to build a long barrow to accommodate, well, what was happening at Stonehenge, people were going there and spreading their ashes around Stonehenge. So what they were having to do at the end of the day, sweep them all up and throw them in the bin, you know. So Tim, in his kind of wisdom, decided to build a long barrow.
I tell you what, he's a hero.
Can
we just say and we have that white brownstone by the entrance is a bit of his long barrow we bought here to honour the great Tim Daw.
Yeah.
Because he's a complete hero. He's the first one to build a long barrow for 4,000 years. But he lives in a very badly run country called England. And he got planning permission within 2 months.
He did.
They should move to Scotland. It takes me 7 years. But then, of course, they didn't know how to run a country in England. So anyway, that's a boring bit. So yes, this is this is a continual. Tim Dawes and I have been speaking informally, and Geraint does the work.
But like I say, when we went to Tim wanted to build one, but he thought it was just going to be in concrete. So I got in touch with him and said, well, it's better to do it in stone, to be honest with you, and try and use the traditional methods, as in cobbling rather than vaulting. So really the Neolithics should understand this type of structure. So it's all based on their ideas, really. Maybe we've moved it forward a little bit, but you know. So if you want to come inside and have a look.
I think one of the great things that brought it forward is Mr Bamford inventing lifts.
Well, yeah.
Mr JCB.
That helped a lot.
That certainly did.
Quick question: do you know where the term long barrow came from? Is it the name for this typology?
Well, long barrows were the first form of structure to take, well, remains of people, I suppose, because it's going back into the Neolithic time before the pyramids and everything. So, but then it went to round barrows. The Bronze Age brought the round barrows then. So, but the originals, like West Kennet, the ones in Orkney, they're all long barrows. So you got multiple chambers.
Called New Grange.
Yeah,
that's a long.
But I think that was a little bit later, wasn't it?
It was, but we're talking.
Yeah.
What's 1,000 years here?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So.
But can I tell you something? I think rather boring, but I think the architecture might be amused. This was the most popular, successful form of architecture Europe's ever known. The classical period lasted for 100 years. This lasted for 3,000 years.
Still here, yes.
Or something of that sort, anyway. And the other thing I'd like to say about long barrows is everything that everybody says about long barrows, including me, and particularly Geraint, is wrong. So, I mean, people don't know what they were built for. They used to say they were built for bodies, burial sites, but that we found, I mean, there have been found long barrows with absolutely no signs of burial. In the other great theory, it was all to do with the summer solstice and the winter solstice and all that. And indeed, it is true, quite a lot of barrows are very carefully and, you know, extraordinarily skillfully elongated with the winter solstice and the summer solstice and all that. But then there are others which are random. So for every rule about long barrows, there is an exception. So the fact is, nobody really knows. And if I might say, I think it might be like building, like archaeologists in a million years' time, digging up Salisbury Cathedral, and they find a big lump of stone and a few burial sites. Oh, they say they built Salisbury Cathedral as a burial site. Well, they didn't understand the concept of the seat of a bishop. And so what I'm getting at is that we have no idea what was in their minds.
Why have you decided to make this? Why have you decided to?
Well, there's something that I can say about long barrows which might be true, is that about 0.5% of humanity are in love with long barrows.
Oh, okay.
I think it could be said to be built-in, atavistic.
Oh, okay.
Fortunately, there are a few lunatics around in the world, and there's one.
And there's another.
Can you give a bit of a background on your firm as well, or your company, your construction firm?
Well, my family, we've been stonemasons since the 1700s. So, yeah, it's father to son for many generations now. So I suppose stone is kind of in the blood, which is a strange thing to say, but I think my father was a real, very passionate about structure, and I think maybe it's carried on into me, and that idea of structure rather than strength and materials is very dear to my heart, to be honest with you. And I think this ultimately shows what structure is. You don't need concrete, you don't need cement or steel. You just need the right shape and the right structure, and anything can be done. And I think if the structure's right, it always looks right as well. You know, the sacred ratios and everything else, it's all there, isn't it? It's all in nature. So basically that's all what we're doing. We're just using nature to build the structure. It's gravity that holds it up, you know, and kind of the pressure from outside that gives it the strength. It's almost like having a bridge, an arch of a bridge, but laid on its side. It's very difficult to explain to people that, oh, the ash, well, you know, what held it up while you were building it? Well, gravity holds it up, you know? You don't need anything to hold it up because it's a cobbled structure. If it was a vaulted structure, yes, we would need formers in it then. But this is cobbled. And with it being a circular shape, the circle is a very strong structure. You know, it's like an egg, I suppose, isn't it? The same principles apply. So that's what it is, really, and it's...
Garrett, can you explain the difference between a cobbled structure and the vaulted structure and how they work?
Well, vaulted structure, it goes with a curve. So say you got an arch and the stones follow the radius around, whereas a cobbled structure, everything comes in horizontally and forms the shape going that way. So that's the difference between the two. And the Neolithics understood cobbling. They didn't understand vaulting until really the Roman times, to be honest with you. Even the Greeks didn't use it a lot, did they? You know, like Persian, you know, Persia and everywhere else, they all used cobbled structures. Even their bridges were cobbled. You know, they just took it that little bit further, you know, refined it, I suppose. I suppose we've done a little bit of refining here as well, you know.
And when you're building it, does it rely on the back weight of the fill to
To a certain degree, yeah.
the stone?
But you've got to remember the cobble is bonded as well. So the tail of one is held by the one on top that holds the front.
Right.
So it's a bonded cobble.
Yeah.
Because the walls here are a metre thick.
Right. Okay.
So it's quite a structure. And obviously there's lime mortar in it. The only reason the lime mortar is there is to stop any point loading, so that the load goes evenly through the structure. It's not there for strength or sticking it together like you do with mortar. That's just to take the load through the structure.
Right.
And even that load. You know, with the original barrows, a lot of them now you'll see, especially on Orkney, because they used a very sedimentary stone there, that it kind of broke its back. Quite a lot of them have broken their backs. And you notice a lot of builds even in North Wales where they've used slate, that over years they kind of snap because there's no softening between the, so it's all point loaded.
Yep.
Because you can never get a flat stone to sit perfectly on top of another flat stone.
Yep.
You have to have that soft bit between, you know, to take the load through it. So, yeah.
Can I add something? We Geraint and I changed the design of it rather late on in the construction. When you go in, you'll see what we've done. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, I was saying to Geraint, well, how big should this such and such be? And Geraint said, the stones will tell us, which is the right way of approaching it. Now imagine saying that to a planner. They say, how big is your house going to be? The stones will tell us. Go straight to prison, do not pass go, and don't build your house, is what they're saying. We fortunately did manage to get a very nice, elderly engineer to sign the engineering of this off. But he said nobody is going to, no engineer knows about corbelling, and because I'm retiring, I'll sign it off, and then they can sue me later, in 3,000 years' time when it's still going. Anyway, I do think it is, to me, pretty obvious that this structure is going to last a hell of a lot longer than the bottom flats.
And just one last question before we go in. What was the design process like? I guess it was in your hands, really? Or were there drawings?
Well, we wanted a large central chamber. I think that was the first thing. And obviously, with a round one, that would mean that the roof would go a lot higher. So on this, I put an oval chamber in to reduce the height of the central chamber. And I think aesthetically it looks quite good as well, to be honest with you. But it, you know, if that was round, it would be another 2 meters higher, which would be a little bit too much, really. So that's why we've gone for that, you know. And in a lot of ways, the stone does dictate what we can do. Stone is a very versatile material. And I think we've lost a lot of the faith in stone, to be honest with you. Designers don't understand it. And it's a shame, you know. I went to look at a job on Friday, and I kind of, I'm not going to mention it too much, but it's sad to see what's happening. They kind of apply brick design into a stone building. It doesn't work. You need to appreciate what stone does and what it doesn't do. And the same with mortars. You know, everybody says about hydraulic mortar and everything. Yeah, it's good, but the structure has to be right to be able to cope with it. It's no good putting a 4-inch skin of stonework up, standing in fresh air with a lime mortar. It just doesn't work. You know, you need room to build a stone structure. And people seem to forget that. You know, a lot of these houses in especially down Bedfordshire now, you know, they have housing sites there, and the planners say, well, you're going to have, you know, a token amount of stone houses on it. So what they do, they just scribble out the brickwork on it and just put stone on it. And you kind of think, that's not going to work. And people are building structures now, honestly, if you run into them with a wheelbarrow, they'd fall over. It hasn't got that strength, it hasn't got that structure about it. People
But
seem
they're
to have
all
got-
signed off by an engineer with a bit of paper behind his name.
Oh, of course they are.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
But they'll fall down, you know.
Yeah.
And this,
They'll blame somebody else for it, I'm sure. But
So was it a case of just going to Denfind, getting stone brought here in whatever shape or form,
Yeah.
or did you specify the type of, or ashlar
well,
block?
we use
or
their
say-
waste, to be honest with you.
Oh, good. That's good. That's good to know. Yes.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff that they don't use. Because a lot of their material is specified for housing and all the rest of it, and cut to certain sizes. But a lot of their stuff that, you know, it was just, when I went to the quarry first, I remember looking around the scrap heaps and thinking, scrap? This is the best stone ever. And they're making that out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's just kind of thing. I just couldn't understand it really. But this is the thing. If we could get architects to understand stone, they could design the stone. But until they understand it, they can't design with it. You know, it's a shame. You know, we're losing it, aren't we? You know, hopefully this next generation will take it on board and run with it, I hope. You know.
Hope that's last.
Yeah, we are. Did you do any drawings?
Yeah, the drawings are there if you want
no,
to
you have to do drawings. You can't get planning without drawings. You don't, you know, the stones will speak.
Not that
doesn't
they
work.
understood them, maybe.
Were they as-built drawings, or did they help in the process of actually building?
Well, yeah, it's all built. I do all the drawings to scale.
Yeah.
And that's essential when you're doing the cobble roof, because them scales give you the dimensions at every 200 mil up. It gives you that dimension to work to, because it's all off trammels. You know what I mean by trammels? Trammels are just center points. So we had, when we first got here, all we did was set poles up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had a pole in the center here, 2 poles, one each side of the main chamber, a pole in each one of the smaller chambers. So it's a trammel point. So all them trammel points give you the dimensions as you're coming up there, and it keeps everything plumb or battered or whatever you want to do with it. But it's that process, you know.
And what sort of tolerance or range are you working within with
Well,
this sort of structure?
You know, when you're building the cobble roof, you're looking within 50 mil tolerance at every 200 mil stage. So every 200 mil I had a dimension across that chamber. Yeah. So the width of the chamber is the radius of the roof. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically if you cut a slice through the middle of it, it'd be like a Gothic arch type shape to it. Yeah. So, and then all I've got then is my trammels go up vertically, and I have a dimension of that trammel at every 200 mil to the opposite side. So I have 2 trammels, so obviously they intersect at each end. Yeah. So that's basically how it works. Obviously the smaller chambers are round, so they're simpler in a way. But they go vertically for 2 meters and then go into the cobble roof. Whereas the main chamber, the cobble roof starts from the floor. So it's, because obviously a cobble roof, it starts slowly and it increases and it goes towards the top. So then you can put the niches in the lower section, and then as it goes up, you have to have a lot of faith in it. Especially when you're going towards the top, because that wall is coming at you at that kind of angle. So you've got to know that that is not going to fall against you. You're almost going against your own natural instinct, you know, that you should. But it's strange, as you're getting towards the top, it gives you the confidence in it. I remember when I did the first cobbled roof, and that was, like I say, in Davies in Wiltshire. And you built them, and I don't know what it was, but they just give you the confidence. You know, I'd never built a cobbled roof before, you know, and it was kind of, but yet, you know, I just built it. You could stand on it. As soon as you'd laid it, you could stand on it. There was no movement at all in it. And it's a beautiful thing, really, because, I don't know, you almost feel as if you did not do it. It's kind of comes naturally. I just remember when we finished the actual barrow, and I put the last stone on the passageway, and walking into it in that silence, and it was really, your hair standing on end, you know, it's that kind of feeling, and you felt as if this wasn't me, this was somebody else that did this, do you know what I mean? It's a very strange thing to say, I suppose, but yeah. So anyway,
I think what you've said just now is, I think what's odd about this place is that it's brand new, and it's already, I wouldn't like to say, it's already rather spooky in there, you know, or numinous. Do you know the word numinous? You already feel something connecting with the earth. You know it's not anywhere, it's somewhere special. And how it manages to do that, I don't know. And if I can say something about, you're right, you know, very tolerant about all this. He wasn't very tolerant when the entrance came in, if we built the entrance in the wrong place. But you might notice it doesn't square off with that. So all that crap about the winter solstice.
We have got an alignment to the winter solstice on that side.
Yeah, well, yes. But anyway, well, I've been down here 3 winter solstices before it was built, and all the time, every time, both dusk and dawn, there was cloud. So how the hell anybody, you know, prehistoric did winter solstice is beyond me. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you better come in.
Yeah, thank you.